Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Charlie Williams with us today. And Charlie, we've got you covering recruiting, we got you involved in college football, and now we got you talking a little bit about some NFL prospects that you were able to see training as they get ready for the combine. The Longhorns are obviously going to be a big part of this upcoming draft, but you saw a handful of guys, namely Tvondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Christian Jones, Ryan Watts, and the maybe not participating Jonathon Brooks up there in the DFW area at one of the most well-known preparation and athletic training facilities there is in the Metroplex.
Yeah, it was good to see those guys. I initially was coming to see Byron Murphy and Tvondre Sweat. As their trainer, Brandon Tucker, invited me out, to come out and get some footage and just meet those guys and interview them. So, the Texas fans can kind of keep up what they're doing, and then kind of ran into everybody else up there training. So it was a cool experience just to see them guys see those guys prepare for the combine and try to go out there and put their best foot forward.
When it comes to Sweat and Murphy, those two guys, maybe with some of the receivers, but as far as defensive prospects go, they're going to be at the top of the draft for the Longhorns, with Murphy probably a first round pick, Sweat maybe finding a way into the top 32 as well, and assuredly being like a top 60 guy. What were those two players working on the most when you saw them up at Exos?
Yeah, so they pretty much refining their skills, getting ready for the drills that they're going to compete in at the combine. What does it look like? What are the scouts looking for when you're doing such drills? Weave drill, bag drills, things of that nature. How far do you have to run after you hit your last bag? Is it a 10-yard sprint, 15-yard sprint? Just refining that. What do I have to do, right, to get a good score or a good mark from a scout at the combine? So it was really just working on those things, just preparing and prepping what they'll face.
Now, Tvondre Sweat was just at the Senior Bowl. When he was at Texas, he was listed at above 360 pounds. He didn't give his weight at the Senior Bowl. He was a little bit quiet on the topic with you, but as you can see in the videos that you posted in your article and even on social media, that he is a lot trimmer than what he was during the 2023 season.
Yeah, definitely, man. Looking at him, he looks really good. He's didn't see much fat on him. He said he's fasting, right? He's dropping the weight and he's getting in shape. He looks in great shape and he's moving like he is. He didn't get tired during the drills yesterday at all, so he was able to work out for a full hour. Then they continued to work out and do extra drills after I left, so that lets you know what kind of shape he's in. But he looks really good.
With Byron Murphy, he's not going to get any taller. He's probably going to bulk up some, being able to work in a professional weight room. But what were some of the things you saw him working on most as he gets ready to head to Indianapolis as well?
Some of the same things that all the guys were working on, just preparing for the combine, to know what to expect. So when they get there, hey, I can pass this test because I've been practicing for a long time. But he had a film crew with him, which is always a good thing because if you got a film crew following you, you're probably going to get drafted high. But he just working on those things and taking some footage, getting some footage for the film crew as he worked out yesterday.
With someone like Ryan Watts, he participated in the Shrine Bowl, played a little bit of corner, played a little bit of safety. What were some of the things that I know when you do defensive back drills, a lot of what you work on can apply to both positions. What position was he preparing for, or was he just doing general defensive back work when he was up there in Dallas on Tuesday?
Yeah, so he's just doing general defensive back work, working on footwork, hips, turning your hips, um, coming downhill out there. Say if you're defending an out route or a comeback route, just getting back downhill on the cones, backpedaling, and coming out of his break. He just wants to show that he's one of the most smoothest DBs in the draft. That he can run, that he can move, that he does have the hips to play corner, but he doesn't care where he plays corner or safety at the next level. He just wants to play and prove that he can play DB at the next level.
What are when you're looking at Ryan Watts and he's what 6'3", probably over 200 pounds. That's a big guy, but there's some smaller and faster receivers at the next level. Did he explain anything, or did the coaches there and trainers there emphasize what he has to harp on most ahead of his going to the NFL Combine?
I wouldn't say individually because they all worked out as a group. So it's him and a bunch of other DBs there, and they're all pretty much working on the exact same things and just preparing because it's all about you. How you going to look in the combine? Can you show that you can move? Can you turn your hips? Can you turn and run? You have a smooth back pedal. Do you stay low coming out of your break? Things of that nature. So that's what they primarily worked on versus talked about who they'll be covering at the next level. Is more focused on working on themselves.
So I know you mentioned you didn't get to really catch up a ton with Christian Jones, but this can kind of go back to recruiting. When you're evaluating a prospect, you watch the sophomore tape, the junior tape, and the senior tape, and you see the improvements they make year over year. With Christian Jones, from some struggles at left tackle to becoming a really good right tackle in 2022 to a great one in 2023. How do you think, like, the before we get into what he was able to do the other day, how do you think NFL front offices are going to see that year over year improvement in Jones and really value that when they're making their draft board?
I think they're going to look at his athletic makeup, his build, right, and how they can pretty much mold him into maybe what they want. Looks tall and lean, like he can play left tackle or right tackle, honestly. So it's about what team could look at his traits and say, okay, hey, we can work with this, and this is what he can improve on. So I think it just depends on that scouts, those GMs saying, hey, this guy has the build we want, he has the length, he has the size, he has the strength, he has the footwork, he has the athleticism. Let's put him here and let's see how he does, and then they continue to work with him on that. Now going to the NFL, these guys football will be their jobs. No more school or anything like that. They get to work on their craft 24/7. So I think it'd be good for him. I think the more he plays football, the more reps he gets, the better he'll get.
He's talked a lot about how Kyle Flood has really changed his life. I think those were his exact words. When you see a prospect develop like that, what does it say about just the coach and what they're able to do? Because it's the prospect and the player obviously does so much of the work, but how does the coach really factor in, and what does that say about Kyle Flood with him?
That means Kyle Flood's a great teacher, right? Because being a teacher, you got to be able to reach your students and then get them to perform and do what you're asking them to do. So this shows that Kyle Flood is just great at what he does and reaching the kids in his room, that he can teach them and they can apply what he's teaching. And that takes a good coach and a good teacher to do that.
With Christian Jones, obviously played a lot of tackle, left and right in college. But the NFL kind of has a trend to where some really successful tackles, if they have a limitation somewhere in their game, whether it be size or maybe with footwork, they're not afraid to put him at put those players at guard. Is that something that you heard reference with Jones? And if so, do you think that might be a pretty good fit for him at the next level?
Uh, he can play guard at the next level. I feel like he can add the weight, and pretty much he's strong enough to play guard, especially for those teams who love to pull their guards. A nimble, athletic guy like himself can probably get out front and pull and be a lead blocker. So depends on the team that he goes to, who decides to draft him, that he probably could play guard. From someone like the Chiefs or 49ers who like to get their offensive linemen moving and pulling a lot, I think he'll be a great fit.
Last guy you saw up there was Jonathon Brooks. Obviously, he tore his ACL in November, and I think surgery was after that play on the field at the Big 12 championship game. How's he doing? I know he's probably going to go to the combine, may not be able to do much as far as physical stuff, but there for the interviews and to meet with teams, maybe being the number one draft or the number one running back on draft boards. How's Jonathon Brooks doing as he gets ready for his part of draft season?
Yeah, he was in good spirits. He was around watching Murphy and Sweat work out and go through their drills yesterday. Just being supportive, being a continued supportive teammate of them, and just like, hey man, keep it up, y'all look good. Pretty much they're under the same team as far as agent, so they all do support each other. But he was there, you got your rehab there at Exos, and just preparing to go to the combine. And pretty sure he'd be able to do all the interviews. Like I said, just coming off surgery, but he was in good spirits, man. He was there being a supportive teammate.
During the season, Tvondre Sweat and Jonathon Brooks, obviously they're in different classes. Sweat was 2019, Brooks I think was 2021, but they're best friends, and I think they were roommates. Is that something that chemistry you can kind of see with those two specifically when they're working out?
I can see the chemistry there, and I know like they're really close and they were joking, having a good time. But man, just seeing all the Texas guys laugh, joke, talk about the times they practice on campus while they're working out, you can tell it's like a tight knit group, and that the culture has really changed at Texas because these guys are brothers and friends off the field while they're training. So it's a really good thing to see.
Last thing before we get out of here, we'll bring it all back to high school recruiting. These are five guys that are going to get drafted. Sweat and Murphy could be early. Guys like Jones and Watts, maybe into the middle of day three, maybe even later than that. Guys like Jordan Whittington, Xavier Worthy, obviously. There's a lot of draft prospects coming out of Texas. A.D. Mitchell, Jatavian Sanders. When you're a coach and you can go into a meeting with a prospect, whether in your office or in their living room, how big of an impact is it to be able to, in the entire presentation, go, oh, by the way, we put this many guys into the draft like Texas is about to do?
That is huge because every kid's dream is to play in the NFL, right? If you play football, that's the ultimate goal. You want to make it to the NFL. And Coach Steve Sarkisian has done a great job developing these guys and getting them prepared to get to the next level. And to have that many guys drafted on, in the draft, that says something. You look at Nick Saban in the past, being in the green room sitting, and you got 3 or 4 guys getting drafted. Coach Steve Sarkisian is going to be able to do the exact same thing. And that is recruitment itself without even saying a word. But to go into a kid's home, meeting with his parents and saying, hey, tell them about everything you can do for them, but actually having the proof and showing that you got guys to the next level, and not just 1 or 2, but multiple, that really says something. And I think kids will listen.
All 3 days are all draft picks, and it's really important. Before we get out of here, I got to say thank you to Andre the lawyer. Andre the lawyer, they never take more than their clients. No win, no pay, no upfront costs. Their principal office is in Dallas, Texas. They've been representing injured Longhorns throughout the state of Texas. Every client gets a personalized text message number so they can contact the team, get direct access to their lawyer all day and all night. Call Andre the lawyer at 214-444-8808. Car wrecks, 18-wheeler accidents, slip and fall, anything, call Andre the lawyer at 214-444-8808. Charlie, thanks again as always. Again, covering all 3 levels, whether it be high school, college, or a little bit of NFL draft. You do a lot over for Inside Texas. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, head to InsideTexas.com, and we will see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel.